Hey, welcome to Blue Dream Health Collective, where we talk about real health as well as chronic illness, self-care, mental health, and other interesting and educational topics. I'm the host, Misty Blue, a biomedical science major and a chronic illness warrior. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you love this episode. Get Heart Charged is an organization uniting the heart community to prevent sudden cardiac death and to offer patient-to-patient support. Bethany and Hannah are sudden cardiac arrest survivors and CHD advocates. I'm super excited to meet them and to hear their mission.
Hi, I'm Bethany Kime. I'm from Miami, Florida. I'm currently attending school at New World School of the Arts, where I'm about to graduate actually in April with a BFA in dance performance.
Hi, I'm Hannah Kime. I'm 22 years old. I'm currently living in Orlando, Florida, and I attend Full Sail University where I'm studying film.
Very cool. And together the two of you make up Get Heart Charged. So who wants to tell me about what your mission is?
Yes, I can. So our mission for Heart Charged is, of course, to end preventable deaths from undiagnosed heart conditions, as well as spread awareness. But the other big thing that we love to focus on, since we are patients ourselves of a heart condition, is to be able to provide that patient-to-patient support. So just to be able to build a huge community of other heart charged warriors out there and just really be able to connect with them and make sure that they don't feel alone.
So how long has this been put together?
So we actually celebrated a year officially being heart charged on January 29th, technically. So it's been 1 year. And then we became a nonprofit. Basically, we started the paperwork this August. But this has been something, though, since we've been diagnosed 7 years ago. When we got diagnosed, we always talked about it and spread awareness where we could. But it wasn't until recently where we really we need to create some type of community, use the power of social media, create this platform and bring other heart charged warriors together, because we feel super blessed that we have each other. But of course, we've experienced our conditions differently. So we wanted to be able to meet others just like us.
So how do you know each other? I think I met Bethany, 1998? Yeah, so we're sisters.
Oh.
So we actually have
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was like, I'll go along with the thing, sorry. We have we together we have 7 siblings, so there's 9 kids. So me and Bethany is 7 of 9 and I'm 8 of 9. So we're kind of go 6 boys and then 3 girls. So we're there at the end. And yeah, that's how we know each other. So
yeah, that's a long time. So Hannah, you actually recently had your first cath lab experience. Do you want to go into detail about that?
Yeah. So I was living in Utah last year, and I came back in March. And so when I came back, me and Bethany we decided to change cardiologists. And so we started going to Memorial Hospital in Hollywood, Florida. And they've been really good and really great. And so my doctors there have been a lot more hands-on with wanting to do a lot of tests to kind of see my prognosis of where we're thinking I would be at in 5 years, and really see, what shape my heart is, instead of just doing simple echocardiograms and stuff. So they did some stress tests, and then they're like, the best is a catheterization where we can really go inside and really see how those pressures are of the heart. And so I don't because of COVID, I really wish my mom was there, just because it's always nice to have somebody there that you can count on when you're doing it. But I survived being myself, going for the catheterization. And just a few days ago, the nurse calls me and she said that everything was looking good. Because with the catheterization, they kind of were something that my doctors have talked about for a while, mostly through my whole diagnosis, is a heart transplant. because my muscle is pretty thick. And so they were kind of looking at this to be an indication of how soon, do we now need to start working on getting you on the list of a heart transplant. So as of right now, I don't need to do that, which is good news. But probably something in a few more years that they'll keep doing just to keep an eye on my heart and all of that. But it went well.
Wow. So what exactly is your heart story for those who are listening? Let's start with yours, Hannah.
Yeah, so me and Bethany both have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is probably the two biggest words I know in my vocabulary. And so that is a heart condition in which the muscle, the left side of your heart, is too thick. And so that causes a lot of irregular heartbeats. And so with that, we have a lot of tachycardia and arrhythmias. And so 7 years ago, me and Bethany both in 2013, were diagnosed with it because earlier that year, our aunt, our mom's sister, found out that she had hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And so obviously it being genetic and being the number one killer of student athletes, and we all in our family are very active, whether that's we're doing sports or we're dancing, we're always keeping busy, keeping active. And so our aunt was like, hey, I mean, with 9 kids, the statistics is at least one of us would have this heart condition. And so my mom decided to have me checked first, which was great because I ended up having the condition. So that kind of put more of the pressure on my mom to get the rest of us checked. And so a week later, Bethany went in and she found out. And so me and her are the only two that have it, that is presentable with the thickness. So we're the fortunate ones, we're the cool ones of the of the
Wow.
family. And then a year after I got diagnosed, my heart muscle had grown really a lot, actually. So it was like 22 when I was first diagnosed millimeters. And for the listeners, like a normal heart is 11 millimeters. So already there, it's like double.
Wow.
And so
Crazy.
I went in after and it was like 28, 29. And that's when you qualify for a pacemaker or defibrillator. And so then in 2015, April, I'm like 17 years old and I got an implantable cardioverter defibrillator. And then it's shocked me 4 times. So it does work. And even though it was a big chunk of change, it was all worth it. To know that I could be sitting here today, alive, speaking here, because it literally saved my life. So it hurts like hell,
Wow.
but it's worth it. Definitely for your life, but yeah, that's
Absolutely.
kind of a bit of my story. And for me, when I first got diagnosed, because as I said, the thickness it was pretty thick. I've had a lot of technicians tell me when they go in for an echocardiogram, like, wow, your heart is really thick. I'm like, thank you. I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that. And because of that thickness, I was told that I couldn't play any more sports. So that stopped all of my physical activity right then and there when I was diagnosed.
Wow. And I know for you, Bethany, that you are a dancer and you had to get a defibrillator also implanted. Can you share more about that process for you?
Yeah, of course. So it's actually not funny, but so right when Hannah gets diagnosed, and it was my senior year of high school, and I was attending a performing arts high school, but I had decided I had made it into a pre-professional program with Miami City Ballet, so a ballet company down here in Miami, and so that would mean being homeschooled, and I would be dancing 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, and some days it was more than 6 hours. And so I start this program. A week into it, I get diagnosed. And I was like, Hannah had to give up everything. So it's kind of scary for me. I'm like, well, I have to give up everything. Like, this is what I've trained for my whole life. Like, I'm a dancer. Like, this is what I love to do. So kind of after getting diagnosed, they immediately put me on medication. And they were like, we think that you can keep dancing. We're just going to monitor you throughout. So I always had to show up with the heart halters on, and like that was kind of like embarrassing, showing up to dance and you're like, yeah, it's fine. I just like had to wear it today. Like, you don't want to say anything about it. So I did a lot of that. And then 3 years ago, randomly one day I'm in the shower and I just collapsed. And like, we don't know why, and it's just out of the blue. And then about a few months later, Again, I don't know why it happens in the bathroom. I'm in the bathroom, I collapse again. Nobody knows how long I was out for, any of that. So that like kind of shot up some red flags. And they knew, my doctors have been so great about this. They knew how much I was active, and I love being active, and I love being dancing. And with the few of the fainting episodes, they were like, we're going to put a defibrillator in you so that you can keep living that more active lifestyle. And Hannah and I have like two different brands of defibrillators, and it's funny because like mine fits my lifestyle, hers fits hers. And so I feel very blessed that I was able to get the defibrillator. I feel like I have this huge like safety blanket on me that keeps me safe, that allows me to still like be active, because I love that part like of my life and still being able to do that. So I feel very blessed. But it has been, of course, like changes your body, like lifestyle changes, of course, come along with it as well.
Yes. So Hannah, since you weren't able to be active, what have you replaced that with?
Yeah, so I've replaced it with advocacy work. That's why this is like a big part of what we do with Heart Charged. That's something that, like, obviously when you research it and you see that all these kids are dying, especially from a preventable cause. And I was kind of into politics. Like I was like that kid who was like always like on a campaign, like during the summer, doing like internships. But then I really found my love for film, and that's what kind of got me where I'm at right now, studying school for that. Because I love performing. That was my favorite thing of dancing, was like getting on stage and, you know, being a character and winking and doing all the facials and stuff. So I ended up going a lot towards acting, and I started doing like spoken words and stuff to share my story with people, to know that, hey, like get your heart screened. Because I was literally telling anybody who would listen to me, whether that was like large groups of students at my own high school, or whether that was like PTAs, or again like spoken word competitions, that people could hear it. And so I started going towards acting and theater, and then I fell in love with directing. And so now I'm here in film school, doing what I love, and I knew this was like the right path, because this is like what I love to do. So I don't feel like I had to give anything up. I just feel like obviously these events led to where I am today, and I'm grateful where I am, and I couldn't be happier.
That's awesome. I'm of course a huge fan of advocacy and education, and how about you, Bethany? What was the moment when you both kind of just decided like we need to do this?
Yeah, so I think it was the moment I got my defibrillator implanted. So I was actually really nervous of how I was going to look, or what people were going to think of me when they saw it, and the scars, and being like a dancer and you wear leotards, and you know, like your body is out there, and we're like from Florida, so you have your bathing suit on and stuff like that. And it started there, and I told Hannah, I like got the surgery, and I was like, I'm in love with these scars, and I'm in love with how like this reminds me that it keeps me safe. And it was like an incredible story, because I honestly thought I like would probably like hide it forever and never want to like tell anybody. And I was just like, I want to share it. And so that's kind of where the Heart Charge thing came from, like starting this like Instagram page and bringing people together, was like right after I got my defibrillator implanted. And like this is like our passion. Like I work on Heart Charge every single day. Like we love this. Hannah and I will be like on the phone to like 3 a.m. like talking about what can we do next, like who can we help next. Like it's incredible. Like it's like what we love to do. So it's been an amazing journey.
That's really cool. So how about for your parents? There, you got a lot of kids. There's a lot of you. Now two of you have these heart issues. Like how did they handle it, and everybody else? What was that like as far as like the family dynamic?
Our mom is literally, yeah, God blessed us with the best person to ever. So our mom actually, through her sister finding out, and then me finding out, she found out that she had hypertrophic cardiomyopathy as well, which is
Wow.
crazy because she gave birth 9 times, and you would think that would come up at like some certain point that you would have a heart condition. But it just kind of shows you how it kind of like hides in the shadows and under the radar. And
Absolutely.
like when you're in a hospital, people, you know, can't even sometimes tell that there's something wrong. But she's like our biggest advocate. Again, like always going to our doctor's appointments with us, being there with us. She literally like helps us with like heart charge as well. Like she's on our board to know, like to help us with anything, whether that's like grammar, you know, because we went to public school, you know, we don't have the best grammar and all that stuff, but anything that she can help us with. But I think, like, to be completely honest, I think it was kind of, I mean, anytime it's hard, like, you know, as you would know, like when you see your child, you know, crying or anything like that, knowing, you know that your mom was there to like hug you when you're like, you know, talking about getting a defibrillator implanted, or when you have those really bad doctor appointments where you get bad news or things are getting worse. Like she was there to make it. I feel kind of bad because, again, like since mine was so severe, I felt like I was kind of taking the attention, especially from like Bethany and stuff like that, because mine completely changed my life. Like it just stopped right then and there. That day, September 13th, that day forever impacted my life. And so I think it was kind of hard. And I felt bad too, because then, you know, everyone was like worrying about me and all these things. And I'm also trying to understand it myself. And then, and even with our brothers, they have kids too. And so like, that's something that comes up. Obviously you can pass it on. And so, but everyone has been very supportive. They care a lot too. I mean, with brothers, they don't really show it, but then like they hear that you're like in the hospital getting surgery, or you know, our mom tells them something and then they're like texting you or calling you. But
yeah, it sounds like everyone's very supportive. I know that it can be difficult. From everyone has their own different perspective and character in each story, which makes it a unique experience for everyone. So I know that we're all in Florida, which is super cool. I'm in the Central Florida area, like near Cocoa Beach, Orlando.
Yeah.
So I know I've seen that you're doing stuff in Florida, and it looks like you have a lot going on. So do you want to explain like what you're doing and as far as Florida and politics goes?
Yeah. So right now there's actually some legislation that's out there right now to hopefully, so there's a Senate bill and there's a House bill, and both of them talk about hopefully training our middle school and high school students in CPR and AED use, which I feel like is so incredible because, you know, that's like a life-saving skill you can have right there in your pocket and just be ready to use. And it's incredible. And as well as the House bill has heart screenings in it, which Hannah and I, that means everything to us. Our lives are saved through a heart screening. So right now we have been working so hard with this legislation. I think I called like so many senators and representatives today. I'm just like, please join the bills together. And like, we have to make this happen. We have to get Florida heart charged because it's incredible things. So that's kind of like the legislation side that we're working on. I actually might go up to Tallahassee, just go speak on the bills on Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like excited, but it's just like, this could be, I mean, this is just a small step because of course, Hannah and I, like our biggest goal is to make heart screenings available to all of our children, you know, from the age from 6 to 18, you know, that would be incredible. That's like our real like lifelong goal that we've been wanting to do, is just make sure every child gets their heart screened. But this is definitely a step in the right direction. So anything that we can do on that. And then of course, like locally, we've this Friday, we're gonna go with one of the commissioners in our area. We've gotten 2 AEDs, so we're donating 2 AEDs to school, and then we're doing like a few assemblies to teach the kids how to get heart charged, we call it. So like get help, start heart compressions, and administer charged AED. We're super excited about. We're gonna heart screen a whole soccer team. We got an AED for them as well. So like, of course, things locally, but big right now in Florida would be like legislation and getting it passed and getting everybody to like supported and just getting Florida super charged up about it.
I think that's amazing. And we actually had on our 5th, so episode 5 was Jimmy Fremgren, in which he also has the same condition you have, except he's in California, and he actually works a lot in, like, he has the past in Capitol Hill, and he does a lot with that. So he would be someone really too to like reach out to for some advice.
Yes.
And of course, I'm always down to help. Anything in Florida, like I will be there.
Yes. Yes, we have to.
Yeah. So how can
Something.
other people help? Like to make, what can other people listening do to get involved and to make, to support you and make things, work?
Me, Hannah?
Oh, sorry. So especially with the legislation, so if everyone visits our website, getheartcharged.org, they'll see a tab up in the right corner that's Florida. And so if you hit that, it's giving you an up-to-date kind of what's going on with the bills. The Senate bill was just introduced, will be on the agenda for the Education Committee, which is exciting. That means it's actually going to be like listened to. And so there you'll kind of see update, and that you'll be able to get the resources to know. And as well, we just encourage anyone who's listening that lives in Florida to call their senator or call their House of Representative and ask them if they would co-introduce a bill or to kind of put it on their radar to know, because if it makes it through and ends up in the final appropriations committee, then everyone gets to vote on it. And so the earlier they know, the better. Then they kind of already expect it and kind of can do their research to be prepared and hopefully vote on behalf of the bill. And I think that's really what we even try to do it with our Get Heart Charged challenge, which is still going on, that we encourage the listeners to participate. Is just kind of bringing that awareness. So not only are we trying to, like, as we know, like, hey, to get everyone to be able to heart screen, we're going to have to work with the government for that logistics too, but also working through social media and just bringing that awareness to more people, bringing it mainstream, that people are aware of it, because sometimes, I mean, like, not many people pay attention to like bills that get passed and what that means for you. So we're trying to do our part on both ends so that we can get not only like society's like attention, but also the people who are, over our government's attention, so that together everyone is more aware of what's going on and how sadly people pass away from an undiagnosed heart condition. And so we want to start as soon as we can with heart screenings, but know that, hey, right now we don't have it logistics to do that. But we can be CPR trained and we can be AD trained and help those people who do have sudden cardiac arrest.
Yeah. And, I always knew I had heart issues growing up because I knew something was wrong. And it took me till I was about 15 to finally get some type of diagnosis, even though I recall it's like since my childhood. But there's also a lot of people, and probably including maybe you two at first, who don't necessarily show symptoms or are symptomatic yet, which is why these screenings are so important, because that's when you have that, sudden cardiac arrest. And so just making sure that everyone gets screened, it's so important, because otherwise they could fall through the cracks because it's just not visible yet. Like, so I want to hear about each of you, because I know, haven't you both had cardiac arrest? You're both survivors of that, right? Hannah. Okay. So Hannah, let me hear about that, because that sounds crazy. Give me the story.
Yeah, I have a few stories. I mean, we can have Bethany tell one of them, so then it sounds, but yeah, sudden cardiac arrest, which is one thing that, again, we're pushing with the Get Heart Charged challenge, is that it can happen anytime, anywhere. And with the two stories I'm going to tell you, it literally ranges from literally anywhere. It can happen at any time. So as I said, April 2015, I got my defibrillator implanted, and then 6 months later, I go in for my like yearly checkup. And so I have like an old school Medtronic one, defibrillator. So I have to like plug in a bunch of things to the wall, and kind of like it makes a fax noise, and I put like the mouse over my device. It's not like that fancy Boston Scientific where it's just by your bed and it's like beep, sending in weekly. I gotta like, I feel like I'm sending like telegrams, like the old phone call things, like, let me direct your phone call here with it. So I went in for that doctor's appointment, and I'm there, and the electrophysiologist is going through like the run of like, since I last sent one in, and she was like, thank God. And then you're like, well, first of all, your doctor's saying thank God. You're kind of like, wait, what's happened? And she said, oh, you were shocked. And then I was like, oh, like pace. Cause I'm like, people tell you, okay, if you get shocked, it feels like a horse kicking you in the chest. And then you're kind of like, I don't recall being, kicked in the chest by a horse recently. So I don't understand like how I could have been shocked. And so she tells me, and she pulls up the thing that October 23rd at 3:30 in the morning, I was sleeping, and my obviously like a resting heart rate was like 50 beats per minute. And then I still don't know to this day what caused it, but all of a sudden my heart skyrocketed to 256 beats per minute. And so at that point, it's obviously it's fibbing out. It's not actually doing its proper job. It's just shaking there. And because I was sleeping, I went unconscious. And even though I got shocked twice because the first shock wasn't powerful enough, it wasn't strong enough to wake me up. So I had like slept. The next morning I was fine. I didn't like notes to tell my doctor, because usually I'll do, if I feel something weird or if I feel my heart beating, I'll write it down so we can kind of like reference it. And so that's crazy. Again, that was the whole thing that changed my life, because again, as doing advocacy work, I'm telling people you could die, like if you don't get a heart screening, and just that simple letter change of like C to W, like I would have died, and now I know the specific date and time. And to know too that luckily I got that defibrillator implanted that year, because only 6 months later I would have went into sudden cardiac arrest in my sleep. And obviously my mind went a bunch of places. I was really nervous too to even go to sleep, because here I was told, don't play any physical activity because it'll get your heart rate up and it will cause you to have arrhythmias. And I'm thinking, okay, I bet I can't even sleep, because apparently that's my heart is doing a bunch of crazy things. And so that was kind of scary too. And also it kind of made me frightened to know what it felt like, because obviously people ask you like, hey, what if you've been shocked, what does it feel like? And I was like, I don't know, which is weird, because you're like, how would I not know what it feels like? And then I got to know what it felt like a year and a half later, when I was actually on stage lip syncing. Oh. I was doing a lip sync battle for my high school, and had come to perform with my best friend. And we were doing All by Myself by Celine Dion. And I don't know, nerves or whatever, but even though I had been on stage before, my heart just was like, I'm performing today too, and decided to do its, thing and beat really fast. And because of that, it had to shock it. And then the first shock kind of like made it even worse. So then it sent a second shock. And so while I'm performing here on stage, thinking that my friend was hitting me, because I'm not thinking in my mind, oh yeah, I'm being shocked right now by my defibrillator. I had been shocked twice. And so that was crazy, because everything, not only like am I on stage like trying to perform and like lip sync all the right words, and then like doing it, and I'm feeling like it's really, really gut wrenching. I explain it like someone hitting like a home run hit with like a sledgehammer. Like it knocks the wind out of you. And like, so it like hit me, but I don't know how I still was standing, and like I didn't fall, which is usually what people happen, is they take a knee or fall down, because it gets you, so it's a strong punch. I mean, obviously, as you see when people use external ones, like the whole body is literally, popping out like that. So yeah, that was crazy. But again, it was so beneficial to get it on video too, because it was like a performance and we were recording it. I was able now to have proof. And like, even when I went to see my doctor, the doctors were like, wait, you have like it on video and stuff. Oh, wow. And through Heart Chart. No, you're good.
I think we lost you for a second. So you have it on video?
What happened? Yeah.
Wow. I want to see.
Yeah, so it's on Hard Charge, and we're gonna repost it again.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
everyone
it's
needs
like,
to go over and to
yes,
your Instagram and check this out.
yes. We're gonna post it
That's
again soon, like, because it's like far down now, but it's so great. It's incredible because actually the week that Hannah posted that video, two people reached out to us and we were like, "Thank you so much for posting that," because they were shocked by their implanted defibrillators that same week, but because they had saw Hannah's video prior to it, they knew what was happening to them and they were able to like recover from,
oh wow.
the aftershock of it. And they were like, okay, I just went through that and I saw Hannah go through it and like, okay, like I got this. It was like incredible. It's like amazing to hear it, like to hear that these people, like it actually helped seeing it, you know what I mean, in person.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just that's a crazy catch to be able to have gotten that too. So what are some things that you deal with? We'll start with you, Bethany, as far as invisible illness. Like, have you dealt with any of that, being that you look, both look perfectly healthy, like, don't we all? What are your experiences with being invisibly ill?
Yeah, for sure. We've actually like been talking about that a lot recently. Like people just assume that you're healthy and that you don't have a heart condition or that, you're on like these medications that sometimes make you tired or I think a big thing for me too is like kind of who I am. I like to push myself sometimes a little bit more than I should. And then you have to remember, like, I mean, I'm not completely like the most healthiest person ever. I do have a heart condition that affects me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, take it easy. And I think there's just things that come along with like having this as well. Like, I don't know if it's like in my head, but there's like a thing that sometimes like having hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, Hannah's been through it, like you kind of like hold on to water weight or things like that, and then it just like makes you feel sluggish and stuff like that, and you start feeling these things but you don't want to present them or show them to other people that you feel that way. And like some days you just like wake up and you don't know what it is and like your heart's beating fast and you feel really lightheaded and you don't want to do anything, but you have to get up and embrace the day, and you have to go to school and do things. So it gets hard in like that point because you don't want to be like, oh my gosh, and like blame it on the conditioner, make people feel like sorry for you. Like I never would want that, but it is like you are living with a disability, but nobody can see it because you look healthy and you look great, but they don't really know what's going on inside you.
Yeah. How about you, Hannah?
Yeah, sorry that cut out. If it happens, just Bethany can go on for the rest of the podcast. Yeah, again, and Bethany can agree, especially being young, and you probably felt it too, is just that social pressure again of because people say stuff, like people say comments and things like we use because I've had episodes where I fainted in line for like because I ride roller coasters because my heart rate actually doesn't accelerate when I'm on roller coasters. But so when we're at like Universal Studios, we use like the handicap pass, and then even people are like, you're walking, like, you know what I mean? People think if you can't walk, that means you're disabled. It doesn't mean, oh, you could have a chronic illness or a heart condition that causes you like not to be able to do normal things like taking the stairs and stuff like that. And I think it's just hard too because people our age are very active, and as someone as me who can't be as active, it's hard too because I'm also somebody who doesn't like, you know what I mean?
Yes, I
Like,
agree.
okay,
So,
looking out more for myself, but you're like, you feel the pressure of like, oh yeah, no, I should be good, and then you have to be like, it's okay, like to say you're not okay, like to take it easy.
absolutely. It's tough. And, again, because I'm from Florida, I love Universal. And
Yes.
I've seen it too myself. Like, I've been there with friends or, and I've seen people that I'm with who should typically know better because I advocate so much, like say like, oh, what's that girl doing in that wheelchair? She just got up and walked, or like, what a liar. And I'm just like, hey, you know what? Like, there's so many other things, like you have blood pressure issues, or for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome there's joint issues. So like, I mean, I will run not run, but I'll like walk around all day, get my 10,000 steps in, But then I have times where like my blood pressure is so low, and just like having that little extra support, whether it's a super hot day and you're having orthostatic issues and you need a wheelchair, or because there's been times where I brought like a cane that folds up and fits in my bag. So in case like later I get super tired or my blood pressure drops, then I have that. But it's like people automatically think like, oh, did you hurt your knee or something? For so frustrating. So,
For sure.
what are the goals that you have individually, but then also like as a whole for Get Heart Charged? We'll start with you, Bethany.
Okay. So so a big goal that we wanted to do, and we actually are like starting, we were able to do it through a grant that we got through, so we're super excited about it, is to create like welcome or care packages for newly diagnosed heart warriors, as well as people that might go in and become bionic, we call it, get their defibrillator. And so we are creating those goodie bags care packages to give out to people. So we're super excited about that. So that was a huge goal of ours. So we're excited to like finally get the first ones out there in the next couple months. I think individually as goals for Heart Charge, I would love to be able to, I think, get in the community more and to be able to really connect with like the younger children and to be able to inform them of how they can be heart charged and then be ready to save a life. And I would love to write like a children's book on this. I think that would be super cool, kind of around it. That's like another goal. And of course, my main goal is to make like heart screening part of like a children's checkup, make that a part of it and make it the normal is another huge goal.
Oh, very cool. That's totally going to happen. Because you do know I am a publisher, right?
No. Oh my
yes.
gosh.
Oh, we'll have to have a conversation. So for anyone listening though, I'm the president of the Florida division for Imagine We Publishers. So they started with children's book and now they're at their 5 years. And after opening the Florida branch, I'm going to start getting like more like memoirs and other things too. But yes, we're totally going to make stuff happen.
Yes. No, it's like literally been on my bucket list forever.
Yes, totally going to happen. And then, so right now we're launching our first of many, like the Chronically Empowered series. So the first one is kind of everyone's story. So this episode will probably be out on that deadline for that. But sidebar, if you guys want to contribute, I'll send you that link. You just have until like Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
But after that, there's going to be a couple other books, but now we're going to have more concentrated topics. And one of those topics, because I'm a heart warrior, is going to be heart warriors. So I definitely love you and other people listening who also have heart conditions can submit their story and get their story published in this collective book. So we'll definitely talk more about that another time, but that would be really cool. So I'm excited.
Same.
And how about you?
Chills.
Yes. And how about you, Hannah?
Wow, that's so cool. I just love that you're using like your platform and using your job to be able to bring that voice to it. And one of my goals was to be able to, which we've been able to do with Heart Charge, is have that community to meet other people. Because again, luckily me and Bethany had each other, but like you feel alone, like you want to know that there's other people out there who understand you. So that's been cool to be able to make so many friends from around the world who get it, who understand it. And for me, obviously in film, I, again, like what you're doing is bringing that, because how many shows do you know that have somebody with a heart condition, especially like a leading character? Like we always talk about like a filmmaker, especially as a female too, to be able to represent and have characters on screen that people can relate to, but not just having it like that's the one thing about them is their heart condition, but showing that these are normal people, that they, that even people who don't have heart conditions can relate to these characters and can be able to see it, but that people like us who have this chronic illness or this chronic condition, that they can see themselves on screen. And that's what's so
Yeah.
powerful. So
That's
yeah,
actually a really good point, because anytime someone does have a chronic, like a big illness, they end up dying, or the story's about that. Like, why can't it just be about something else? But like that leading person just happens to have a heart condition.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And they always like die, or it's like, of course, I mean, it's a drama too, like with a lot of the teen dramas or whatever, they're just making drama up. So then they make it like so extreme and stuff like that. But like, what about like just a normal, person living with it? And it's just like their everyday thing. So hopefully
I like that.
be able to get that, and even do like a docu-series too of actually showing people in their real life living with this condition as well. So
So
we'll see.
cool. I'm so excited I met you guys. So what advice do you both have? We'll start with Bethany, for anyone who has a new diagnosis.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is that your life doesn't end with a diagnosis. And I don't want you to ever think, or anyone to ever think like, my life's over now because I have this. Like, for me, definitely, like, there's so many things in life to be grateful for. And even though I do have this condition, I've learned to like live with it and it be a part of me. So I never want anyone to ever feel like their life is over. Like, they can still live like a full, active, grateful life. I promise you. You just have to like, really find it, and it can happen. And that, as well as, you're not alone. Heart Charts is here for you. And that we stay up texting people all the time, like 5 a.m., 3 a.m. Sometimes we're always here for you. We love you. And yeah, you have a huge family out there that like, of other Heart Charts warriors out there that just truly love you and understand you, and that you can talk to as well.
Yes, so good. I love it.
And I think just what I've been like really reflecting on recently, that I would give advice to somebody newly diagnosed is that it's a journey, that it's not, I mean, like I can tell you, and like anyone with it, that sometimes it gets worse, sometimes it gets better. But in that sense of like living that moment, okay, this is it. Like, I think especially too with being young and so much with mental health, like you can get very like caught up in your future and thinking, oh my gosh, and worrying so much about what's going to happen 5 years and 2 years. But just think in that moment, because that's going to help your health the most. Like, what can I do today to live my best life, or what can I do today to make me feel better or get through it? And so just taking it one step at a time and not worrying so much about what's gonna happen years down the line, but thinking, okay, what can I do today? And also loving yourself, as we're in Heart Month. Like, love yourself for who you are. Everyone is imperfect. And also people are annoying, as we said, like with the social pressures of knowing that invisible illness, but knowing that you have people behind you, like, hey, like sometimes you have to like let people off a little easy if they say something that offends you. Know that we've all been offended, but that sometimes you got to give them like a second or 20-second chance, because they forget.
Yes, so true. And then
so letting that,
yes, sorry, I don't know that the sound is good. I'm sorry if the sound is crazy. It's hard to tell sometimes. But I think that's really well said. And I love that you were able to find purpose and kind of redefine your life. I think that's super important too. Finding a way to cope and go through the grieving stages of having a chronic illness. And I love that you did that. And, even though this isn't my lesson, but I just think that it's important for people to know that, that's a really great thing to do, to be able to reinvent yourself, because, a lot of times whether it's a chronic illness or not, and you have this huge thing that happens in your life, sometimes people just don't know what to do and they just give up because their dream was shattered. But, sometimes this takes you somewhere unexpected that you would never have ever thought before. And then you're doing this amazing thing that you're passionate about and you have this purpose. And I love that you did that. So, and then I wanted to also wrap up with if you have any last words of wisdom that you want to throw out there. Anything we missed?
Yeah, I mean, just love yourself and you're not alone. And we're here for you, definitely. And also anybody diagnosed or not undiagnosed, by helping like spread awareness and being a part of it, that can definitely help save lives too. So for sure.
Absolutely. Advocacy and education, everything that, all of us are doing is just ways that can hopefully help somebody else, whether it's to save their life or to not feel alone. And then I'm going to include your links and your website and everything in the blog post. But if you want to just do a little shout out on that real quick before we wrap up, in case someone is got their phone handy and wants to check it out right now.
Yeah. So just type in heart charts on Instagram and follow.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been great.
Yes, thank you so
thank
much.
you.
It's been wonderful.
Please be sure that you subscribe to the blog, which is bluedreamhealth.com, where you can find additional links and information on this episode. You can also check out the digital magazine on our website, as well as find us on Patreon, where you can be a supporter.